Authority tells us what to do or tells us what goal to achieve. In the 1960s, Stanley Milgram did an experiment that we consider now quite unethical, but the results were remarkable. He invited two people to come to his laboratory, someone who played the role of the teacher, a volunteer, and someone who played the role of the student, who was actually a scientist pretending to be a volunteer. They told the teacher to sit in front of a counter that had a button and a dial. And they said that they were going to ask some questions of the student. And if the student answered the wrong question or refused to answer, the teacher was to press the button and administer an electric shock. And after each shock, they were to turn up the dial one notch. And the notch said, mild, medium, slightly painful, slightly more painful, very painful. And eventually, it went red and said XXX. And what happened was there was only really one electric shock administered throughout the whole experiment. And it was a small shock administered to the teacher so they could see what it felt like. And so the experiment would progress, and the questions would be asked, and the teacher would press the button, and the scientist pretending to be the student would pretend to get an electric shock. What ended up happening was that when the student could see and hear the student when the teacher could see and hear the student, they would scream. He couldn't go very far before he quit. He said, I can't do this anymore. I'm hurting the guy. And he would quit the experiment. When he could see him, but not hear him, he could go further, but still not very far before he quit. And the authority figure would stand over him every time he would say, but I'm hurting the guy. The authority figure would say, it's imperative that the experiment goes on. And they would say over and over and over in their heads, the experiment must go on. They'd say it out loud, the experiment must go on.